بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All right, what did we talk about yesterday briefly? What did we discuss yesterday? Abdurrahman. زيادات الثقات. زيادات الثقات. Additions made by trustworthy narrators. Are they acceptable or not? طيب. Ahsant. What else we discussed? صحة الحديث؟ سقط. لم أسمع. I can't hear you. شاذ. الحديث الشاذ. شذوذ. طيب. جزاك الله خيرا. What else we discussed? المقبول. طيب. Good. What else we discussed? خبر الواحد المقبول. What else we talked about yesterday? Anything else, guys? Brothers and sisters? What else we discussed yesterday, guys? That was it? What is the understanding of isnad? Passing on information, student, teacher, teacher, student, from the Prophet to the Sahabi to the Tabi'i until it ends up in a book of Hadith. All right? Khairan. What else did we discuss? Anything else? Faddal. Firan. Al-Jam'u, Al-Tarjih, Al-Nasakh, Thumma, Tawaqquf. We talked about the steps that Khabar Al-Wahid, which is Maqbul, it's not Mutawatir, it's Ahad, it's not weak, it is Maqbul, it's authentic, either Hasan or Sahih. It is either going to be Muhkam or it's going to be Mukhtalaf al-Hadith. إن سلم من المعارضة فهو الإيش؟ محكم. If it has no mu'arada, then it is called muhkam. And if it does have some type of mu'arada, then the following steps are taken. And that is a separate study and a separate field of hadith science, dealing with polemic narrations, or narrations which seem to be contradictory. Narrations which seem not to make sense with each other. What are the steps that we are to take to protect and prevent anything like that being said about the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's authentic hadiths? And of course, obviously, is an extremely important discussion, especially in 2021, in which it is a very easy, simple thing to go online, to open your phone, and to find someone attacking Islam and claiming that the Prophet ﷺ's hadiths don't make sense. The Prophet's hadiths promote violence, extremism, terrorism, chauvinism, racism. The Prophet's hadiths clearly are not from the Quran. Non-Muslims themselves claiming this. And within supposed Islam, people who say that they're Muslim claiming this. We understand this? Non-Muslims not attacking Islam as a whole directly, not speaking about the Quran, not making sense, it's made up. No, they're just the non-Muslims saying Muhammad's hadiths don't make sense. And it's a proof that they are not a part of Orthodox Islam, etc., etc. Taking the Quran and isolating it in their own corner, in which they can interpret it how they wish to interpret it. Everyone understand this? And that makes another problem with regards to apologetics, in which a non-Muslim opens up Sahih al-Bukhari and he says, this is what the hadith states, and this is what your prophet says in your hadith books. And many people say, no, that's not an authentic hadith. The prophet didn't say that. It's impossible for the prophet to have said that. I understand this, between extreme and between apologetic. So knowing how the hadiths, which are all authentic, they don't clash, they don't contradict each other, and there's a scientific way, there are scientific steps to understanding them and to harmonizing between them, is even more important in 2021. And the scholars of Islam, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800 years ago, when they were discussing how to understand the hadiths, and they're not contradictory, they weren't living in the lands of the non-Muslims. They weren't going to their schools. They didn't have health insurance from non-Muslims. They weren't protected by the armies of non-Muslims. They weren't in need of apologizing to non-Muslims about what Islam actually or doesn't actually teach. And they knew and they felt and they thought and they saw that it was important back then. So just imagine what? Nowadays, it's even more important to understand this part of the science. All right, what else do we discuss? Anything else? Fadl. Al-Mardud. All right, that's right where we stopped. Who's our reader today? Who's our reciter? Fadl. Bismillah. Go back. We didn't go that far. We didn't get to Mardud yet. ثم المردود إما أن يكون
ثم المردود إما أن يكون لسقط أو طعن فالسقط إما أن يكون من مبادئ السند من مصنف أو من آخره بعد التابعي أو غير ذلك. فالأول المعلق والثاني المرسل والثالث إن كان باثنين فصاعدا مع التوالي فهو المعضل وإلا فالمنقطع. ثم قد يكون واضحا أو خفيا. فالأول يدرك بعدم التلاقي ومن ثم احتاج إلى التعريف. والثاني المدلس ويرد بصيغة تحتمل اللقي كعن وقال. وكذا مرسل الخفي من معاصر لم يلقى
من حدث عنه.
ثم الطعن إما أن يكون لكذب الراوي أو تهمته بذلك أو فحش غلطه أو غفلته أو فسقه أو وهمه أو مخالفته أو جهالته أو بدعته أو سوء حفظه. فالأول الموضوع.
طيب جزاك الله خيرا. So now the author Hafid bin Hajar is speaking on the opposite of Khabar al-Wahid al-Maqbul. He's now talking about hadith which is mardud, which is weak, a hadith that is not to be accepted. Of course, it isn't mutawatir. We're all talking about ahad. What makes a hadith weak? How do we know when a hadith is weak? And are there levels of a hadith being weak? Or all of them of the same level of weakness? That's what this discussion is about. So I want to ask you guys really quick before I explain anything. And let's see if we've truly understood what we've previously studied. What makes a hadith weak? A broken chain. Tayyib, Furqan. What else? Unreliability of the narrator. Tayyib, what else? Narrator is of poor memory. Anything else? Apostasy. They lack adala. They're not adl. Anything else? He makes a lot of errors. His memory is not the worst, but he makes mistakes. Who can summarize all of this in a simple, easy way? What makes a hadith da'if? What makes a hadith mardud? Ali. It fails to fulfill the 5 conditions. Bas. Anything that doesn't meet those conditions is automatically mardud. One or more. With one or more missing condition. The narration, the khabar, that fulfills to meet all 5 of the standards is considered to be that fails to meet those 5. Hasan? Mawdu'? Mardud. Be clear, be precise. Mardud. All 5 conditions it has to fail to meet, correct? No. No, we never said all 5. One from among? No. One from among what? 5. Everyone understand? If it fails to meet one of the 5 conditions, it's automatically mardud. 2 out of 5, it's automatically? You guys understand this or not? There are 5 prerequisites for the hadith to be maqbool. Correct or incorrect? And we took this or not? How many prerequisites? 5. If a khabar fails to meet 1 out of 5, that khabar is called what? Mardud. Only 1. Let alone 2. Let alone 3. Let alone 4. Let alone if none of the conditions have been fulfilled. If a hadith has no isnad whatsoever. A khabar has no sanad. There's no chain. You understand or not? You guys understand this? If the hadith doesn't, if it fails to meet 1 of the 5, 2 of the 5 conditions, no matter how popular the hadith is, how beautiful it sounds, it is automatically classified as mardud. Everybody clear on this? All right, khairan. The author, may Allah have mercy upon him, he says that the mardud is for one of 2 reasons. لِسَقْطٍ أَوْ طَعْنٍ. Something missing in his chain, or some type of ta'n, some type of disparaging remark, some type of criticism, some type of poking or stabbing. There's no reason for hadith to be weak other than one of these 2. إِمَّا لِسَقْطٍ أَوْ طَعْنٍ. And the saqt is a link missing out of the chain. 1 link, 2 links, all of the links are missing. A severe breakage, lack of continuity, etc. Or yasir, saqtin. Anything that fell down from the sanad that's supposed to be mentioned in the sanad. It's automatically called mardud. Where did the saqt take place? Did a narrator fall? Did a link pop in the beginning of the chain, the middle of the chain, or the end of the chain? Is it something which is obvious to everyone? Or is it only picked up by the hadith critic? It's hidden, saqt. No one knows this except someone who is a critic. Everyone understand this? A meticulous critic. Listen carefully. The saqt, the missing link, the popping of the link, the popping of the chain, it could take place where? We said where? In the beginning, or the end, or the middle. It could be clear that there's a link missing, or it could be hidden, only available for the vigilant critic. Regardless of where, how bad, if it's sucked, then it's sucked. How and when the sucked is determines what term is used. Mursal, mudallas, mu'allaq, munqati', mursal khafi, etc. That's what he's discussing. Everyone understand this? All right? Then he talks about ثم طعنوا إما أن يكون لكذب الراوي أو تهمته بذلك. And as far as a disparaging remarks, marks of severe criticism, then it's going to pertain to one of the following reasons. Number 1, the narrator is a liar. لكذب الراوي. And if he isn't a liar, أو تهمته بذلك, he's been accused of being a liar. Understand the difference? One is a plain liar, there's no doubt about it. One isn't a plain liar, but severe accusations have been made and he's been accused of lying. Everyone understand this? Or he lied outside of the hadith. He's a liar when it comes to day-to-day life. That's a problem in the hadith culture, even if he wasn't a liar when it came to hadith. Everyone understand or not? We clear on this? All right, so I need my volunteers. I need Hudayfa, Furqan, Ibrahim, Ismail, Farhan, Abdurrahman. I need you guys on the stage again. F1? Yes, simple. Trust me, the road gets steeper, don't worry. You'll see my weak memory soon, huh? Let's go, guys. Yalla, yalla. Bismillah. Let's go in the same order. Hudayfa, you're my pupil. Right? Okay. Ibrahim. Ismail. Ibrahim. You said like it wasn't. Ibrahim, right? Say it. That's right. Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Same chain of narration? Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So let's now read it in English. Let's read the text in English with regards to Mardud. Quickly. Somebody? You get a volunteer?
The rejected report can be either if someone dropped the chain of narration or an impugnment regarding
Another very important point, guys, with regards to mutun in English, is that when you translate it, the translation should be clear and not too Oxfordy, in which we can barely understand what is being said in English. All right? The translation should be smooth, it should be fluid, and it should be understandable. As far as if you have an academic translation in an academic journal for academic people, then that's what? A different story. But the average person is, what is this word? Pugnant, disbar, what is that's a problem when it comes to translation. I understand? It's a huge problem, all right? So, the hadith which is mardud is for one or two reasons, saqt or ta'an. So now let's make an example of a saqt. So, keep reading. Go back to the English. Listen carefully, guys.
The rejected report can either do someone drop from the chain of narration or an impugnment regarding narrator.
Keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going.
The drop in the report can be from the beginning of the chain.
The drop in the report can be from the beginning of the chain. Meaning, who's missing in this chain? They can't see you. Guys, move over, please. It can be from the beginning of the isnad. So you read a report, and who's missing from the chain of narration? It would be who? Hudayfa. Furqan. You're supposed to be here. We're going back to the asl. So Furqan is going to narrate directly from me, right? He's going to say, I heard from Brother Munir, right? He's not going to say that. And if he does say that, then obviously he will be considered to be a liar, a fabricator. But he's going to say, Brother Munir said. Brother Munir reported. Brother Munir did. And who's missing? Hudayfa. Keep going.
At the beginning of the chain or from its end after.
Or from its end after?
Tabi'i.
After the tabi'i. After the other direction. Like we said, the chain could be the beginning this way or the beginning that way. All right? Keep going.
The first category of the drop is termed al-mu'allaq or the suspended.
Al-mu'allaq, in which the author, he takes out one or more people from the isnad. So now he's the author, right? Correct or incorrect? Yeah. Okay, he has the book. This is Imam Abu Dawud, Imam al-Bukhari. And Imam al-Bukhari says, Mufti Muhammad ibn Munir said. Mufti Muhammad ibn Munir had a different type of tea today. Did he hear from me? He did not. He removed everybody from the isnad. Or if he just removed Faran, one narrator from the isnad. You step out the picture now. And he narrates directly from Abdurrahman. Bukhari says, وَقَالَ Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman said. Or Imam al-Bukhari may also take out Abdurrahman. وَهَكَذَا. Everyone understand this? That is called mu'allaq, a ta'liq. And there are reasons why Bukhari does this. There are reasons why. And in general, if Bukhari would do this in his book, that hadith would be considered what? Sahih. Kayf sahih, ya akhi. How could it be sahih? That's bigotry and fanaticism for Bukhari. Right? If Bukhari's book, it has to be what? Sahih. But we just learned the rules for hadith sahih. It must have ittisal sanad. Bukhari cannot jump 2-3 people to the Prophet. All right? So that's called hadith mu'allaq. Isnad mu'allaq. And that obviously is this da'if, without a question. There's no what? There's no thinking, no, that's weak. Now, is the hadith truly weak? Is the hadith found in another place with a full chain? That's a different discussion. Of course, it's in a different place. Imam Bukhari has a full sanad, but there's a reason why he does it. But we're not here to discuss that right now, why he does it. And we're not here to discuss the fact that the hadith is mawsul fi makan and akhar. Al-muhim, we're learning the rudimentary ABCs. And what we've learned is that if Imam al-Bukhari did that, his chain of narration would be mardud. Mardud. Because it's not muttasil. All right, keep going.
The second category of drop is termed al-mursal.
Al-mursal. When Hudayfa is what? Missing. From the Sahabi is missing. And of course, that's the discussion. If it was just a Sahabi missing, no problem. But we don't know whether the Furqan, the Tabi'i, if it's just Hudayfa missing, or is another what? Tabi'i. All of the Sahaba are good. They're all acceptable. So if we know for sure that it's just Hudayfa is missing the Sahabi, it's no problem. But we don't know if Furqan heard it from a Sahabi or if he heard it from another Tabi'i. And if he heard it from another Tabi'i, then who's that? Tabi'i. Ishhaluhu. Is he trustworthy? Is he have a strong memory? Is he Muslim? Did he apostatize? Etc., etc. And that is called Hadith Mursal. Hadith Mursal. Al Hadithul Mursal. That's Irsal. In which is the breakage, a clip, a link is popped towards what direction? The start, the direction of the Sahabi. Clear. Keep going. You guys can go back to your spots quickly. No. Back to your spots in the chain. No rest. Not yet.
The third category of drop is when there are two or more narrators.
Two or more narrators.
Drop in succession.
In succession, meaning back to back. Meaning what? They're back to back. They're missing when? How are they missing? No. I never said go back. I never said go forward. I said how are they missing? What's meant by succession? I don't understand that in English. What's meant by that?
Next to each other. Back
to back, right? So, take these two narrators. Will they for you staying here?
All right.
Furqan, right? Ibrahim, out. Go. Out the picture. Out the picture. Good back. No, you stay here, Hudayfa.
Okay.
So the Sahabi is here. Now there's a break. Abdurrahman did not meet Hudayfa. He did not live in the time of Hudayfa. We know for sure it is at least two narrators. Through what? How do we know? How do we know that there's at least two people missing? Kayf, how do we know? Time, history, is too much time missing. But that's another discussion. Because maybe Abdurrahman started seeking knowledge when he was very young. And maybe Hudayfa continued to teach up until he was 90. So it gets tricky. It gets steeper. But in the basic step, ABCs, it's too much of a gap between Hudayfa and Abdurrahman, so it has to be at least two narrators missing. And this is called Al-Mu'dal. Al-Hadith Al-Mu'dal. This is I'dal. There are two narrators that are missing back to back. Now you guys take your spots again. Keep reading. Quick.
Otherwise, it is termed al-munqati.
Munqati'. In which Furqan, once again, you got the picture. Abdurrahman, you got the picture. How much breakage is in the chain? There's two, but they're not in back to back in succession. All right? Meaning, Farhan did not hear from Ibrahim. And Ibrahim did not hear from Hudayfa. So it's double inqita', but it isn't back to back, so it's not called mu'dal. It's not i'dal. Any hadith in which this condition is considered to be mardud, weak, period. Go back to your spots quickly. Keep going.
The drop can either be clear or concealed.
The drop, the breakage, the pop in the chain, the link missing is either clear or unclear. Clear would mean between Abdurrahman and Ibrahim. How would it be clear? That Furqan and Abdurrahman. How would it be clear? How would it be clear?
Because like big age difference or something.
No, they traveled.
Time difference.
It would be clear. One of the following reasons. Number one, ulama of hadith clearly said in Abdurrahman's biography, he did not meet so-and-so. He did not meet Furqan. He narrated from him, but he didn't meet him. Or Abdurrahman never left Hijaz. He never left Hijaz. And Furqan, you never left Iraq. They never met each other. But it's not mentioned that they didn't meet each other. You did not leave Hijaz, and you didn't leave Iraq. Mathalan. Everyone understand this? Period. How did they meet? There was no text message or email, phone call, FaceTime. There was none of that. They had to meet in person. So one example of the breakage being clear is this. Or the date. You died in the year 40 after the Hijrah. Right? And let's say he was born in the year what?
45 or 61. Anytime after.
But he was too young. Mathalan. You died 40, he was born 43. Mathalan. When you died, he was only 3 years old. Or he was born in
Same year.
what? No, if you died in 40, yeah, 3 years after. That's what I mean. 37, yes, that's what I mean. Everyone understand this? Wahakadha. It's impossible for them to have met up, or they couldn't have met up and heard from each other, etc. So that's wadih. Inqita' wadih. It's clear breakage. Next is khafiyan. It's hidden. In which Abdurrahman traveled to Iraq several times. He went to Iraq several times. Kufa, Basra, Baghdad, Mosul. He went there several times. And Furqan also traveled to Hijaz. He made Hajj, he made Ziyarah, he studied in Medina for a year, he was in Taif for some time. So the possibility of them meeting up, possible or impossible? No doubt about it. Probable or improbable? For sure. He's a Hadith student, he's a Hadith student. He's a Hadith master, it's very likely that they're going to meet up. Everyone understand this? Did you meet Mufti Muhammad Ibn Munir when he came to Minnesota? Did you meet him? What's the chances of me coming to teach a hadith book, you being eager to learn hadith sciences, and us not meeting up what? At least one time. In the musalla, outside, you're going to give salams. This is my book, the possibility is extremely high. Because I'm here for a purpose, and you're also?
I got a question.
No questions. No questions. Are you clear on that or not? But for some reason or another, they never met. In other words, the day when Abdurrahman, even better for Khan, but let's say Ibrahim, here, it's hidden. The day in which you got to Kufa, he was sick. He was sick. You didn't get a chance to hear him. Sheikh was excused. He couldn't come to the majlis. Something happened in which they didn't meet up. Even though time supports that they did what? That they met. Location supported the fact that they met. Their interest, their shared interest supports the fact that they should have, but they did not. And that is called al-mursal al-khafi. Al-mursal al-khafi. Min mu'asirin. Someone, they lived during the same time, but for one reason or another, they did not meet. When I came to the conference, they changed the schedule, and I just missed Brother Mufti. He went outside. I just missed him. I was there, shared, signed my book. I just missed him. And I never got a chance to meet him. Right? Everyone understand this or not? Tayyip, keep reading.
The first clear drop can be received by means of a lack of talaqi or meeting.
They didn't meet, and one of the imams mentions that they didn't meet. Next.
And it can be perceived through referring
history like I mentioned. All right, keep going.
The second concealed drop is termed al-mudallas.
Al-mudallas. All right, we mentioned that briefly with regards to Hudayfa being my student, but for some reason or another, you stepped out of the class, you didn't hear from me. Furqan heard it from me. Or you get it from another student in the crowd. What's your name, Akhi? Umar. He got it from Umar. Why not just say, Umar told me, Sheikh Mufti said this about his tea? Why do you just say, Sheikh Mufti said? Why clip him out? Why not mention him? Why would someone make tadlis? Is he not my student or not? He met me, he heard from me, he's trustworthy. Umar is my student. He met me, he heard from me, he's trustworthy. But when I mentioned this narration about the tea, Hudayfa had to what? He had to step away. He had an important phone call. He missed that specific narration. But when he passes it on to his disciple, Furqan, he says what? Sheikh Mufti said. That's tadlis. Why would he even do this? Why would he make tadlis? Why would he perform it? Why? Isn't that dishonest, immoral? Why would he do that?
It didn't cross
The
his
sheikh
mind.
is well known. The student isn't.
Well, first of all, I'm a Sheikh student. So if there's someone between me and him, it's no big deal. I met him so many times. Or why should I narrate from my fellow student? That lowers me. Do you understand? That adds another unnecessary middleman. What's the big deal? He did say it. He is my teacher, and I was there. The mindset of tadlis is not necessarily totally immoral. Especially when the scholars of hadith, they were looking for, it's like old vintage cars. The prettiest, most classic car. The upholstery, the rims, the old car. Every single detail who wins the trophy for the best vintage car. My hadith has the shortest amount of chain of narrators. It is akhbar, it's musalsal. All people from Basra, they look for the hadith had the most beautiful features and the less unsightly features. And you add in an unnecessary narrator to the chain, would have become, no doubt about it. It now takes down his value when you're in competition with 50 other people. Everyone understand? Keep going.
And the narration is reported by means of forms suggesting that
He does not say, I heard Sheikh Mufti, because he didn't. And if he said that, he would be lying. But he mentions it in a way in which it doesn't mean that he heard it from me, nor does it negate it. I never said I heard. I never said he told me. I said he what? Said. Narrated from Brother Mufti Ibn Munir. Tahtamil. It doesn't necessitate, nor does it negate it. Clear? All right, keep going.
meaning is possible, such as using the term and or on authority of
An. Instead of sami'tu, hadathani, akhbarani, qala li. He said to me. He just says qala. He said. All right, keep going.
on or on authority.
Keep going.
And qala or so and so said. Likewise is al-mursal al-khafi or the hidden expedited chain from a contemporary who did not meet the
A hidden expedited chain. What in the world does that mean? Tayyib. Who's going to understand ilm al-hadith through that? Huh? A hidden expedited chain. Keep going.
That is the
At-ta'n. All right, tayyib. All right, how much time we have? How much time we got left, guys? I need to know. Okay, about 30 minutes. All right, let's move forward. Now, we're done talking about saqt. Okay, so where's our reader in Arabic? Fara'an. Aina kitabuka? Iqra. Listen carefully.
فالأول الموضوع
لا, go back to إما ليكون لكذب الراوي.
ثم الطعن إما أن يكون لكذب
لكذب الراوي. So all of these narrators here are all trustworthy, with exceptions to Furqan. I'm sorry, it's you today. Furqan لكذب الراوي has been caught making up narrations about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let's say, just an example, Furqan is Rafidi. He's an extreme Shiite. And he wants to mention a hadith which would support Shiism, support Fatima, Ali, Hassan, Hussein, put down Uthman or Aisha or whatever the case may be. He's going to narrate a hadith, he's going to fabricate a hadith, he's going to lie on the Prophet to support his madhab. Right? Sectarianism, etc. in Islam, to support his madhab. And we caught him in the lie. We documented it. He reported from someone that he never met. Clear lie. He said that he heard from Hudayfa, from one of the Sahaba. He met this Sahabi. He met that Sahabi. When did you make Hajj? Oh, I made Hajj in year 32. That companion in year 32 was in Sham. He was in Iraq. He was there. He went to Egypt. How did you meet him? Everyone understand? We caught him in a lie. So if it's been proven that he's made one lie in hadith, the whole hadith is now considered mawdu'. It's fabricated, it cannot be used, it cannot be mentioned, it cannot be accepted, period. And if it's not for the kadhib of the rawi, then it is tuhmatihi bidhalika. He's a liar outside of hadith science. Among his people, he's known to be a pathological liar. The hadith is called something which we'll get to. Fadl, number 3. Oh, fuhshi, ghalatihi. It's a severe mistake. A horrible, tremendous mistake that he made. Ibrahim, you narrated from Furqan, from Hudayfa, that I can't stand tea. It's bitter, it's sour. I don't see how people can drink it. I don't see what's the big deal. Only old men drink tea. That mistake and that error will be considered what? A huge problem. And he narrated to his students and he collected it in his book. Fuhshi ghalatihi. A severe error, not a small error. Next. Oh, ghaflatihi. He's sitting in the majlis, he's playing with his phone. He's fumbling with his fingers. He's not paying attention. He's falling asleep. Like many people come in and out, not focusing, not concentrating. He's ghafla, mughaffal. Someone comes along and he says, hey, the class was about qawaid fiqhiyya. Yeah, right. The class was about qawaid fiqhiyya. Sheikh Mufti gave a class about qawaid fiqhiyya. Ghafil. He's just heedless. Anyone can come, feed him information, take his notes. He's ghafil. Right? That's a problem. Or? Oh, fisqihi. Unfortunately, Abdurrahman is known to drink alcohol. He's an alcoholic. In Baghdad, in Kufa, in Hijaz, he drinks. He is not caught being a liar upon the Prophet. And his memory may not be bad. He may be sharp. He may have a very precise memory, but it's been proven that he's a fasiq. His narration can no longer be accepted. Next. Oh, wahmihi. He makes an error. He has a false impression, something that's in his head that doesn't exist in the real world. And that's you, Farhan. All right? You narrated from, instead of Abdurrahman, Abdul Qayyum. Abdul Qayyum told me. That's worse than him saying, if he was asked, man haddathaka? Who did you narrate from? He says, la adhkur. I can't remember. And him saying that I can't remember is what? Su'ul hifz, poor memory. Versus him saying, I remember who told me. It was brother Abdul Qayyum. And he told me twice. We met 2 times. That's a wahm. There is no Abdul Qayyum. And if there was Abdul Qayyum, he didn't meet him, he didn't hear from him. Abdul Qayyum is in his head. It's wahm. And that's worse than him just forgetting and saying, I don't remember, I can't remember. Poor memory versus wahm. Tayyib, keep going. Oh, mukhalafatihi. Now, to do this, obviously, we're going to need 2 more volunteers to come to the stage quickly. 2 volunteers, 2 more. Bismillah. It's nothing to be afraid of. Make a little more space, guys. I have now more students, alhamdulillah. All right. No, you stay here. You're the author of the book. We need you here at all times. All right, your name, Akhi?
Abdul Wasi.
Abdul Wasi. This is Abdul Wasi, new narrator. Your name?
Ahmad Sharif.
Ahmed Sharif. Okay, so Abdul Wasi and Ahmed Sharif, you guys are going to go towards, come this way. You move down Ibrahim, Abdurrahman, Furqan. Once again, we're picking on you again. So these 3 guys are your students. No, we're not even going to do that. We're going to make it even better. All right, no problem. We're going to switch up the isnad now. Ahmed, Abdul Wasi, come. Go back to normal. Abdurrahman Ibrahim. There, this is where we want it. All right. So, how many pupils do you have now?
3.
You have 3. Abdul Wasi is pupil A. Ahmed, pupil B. Abdurrahman, pupil C. You have 3 pupils. You sat with them, you made a majlis, you gave them a report, you gave them a hadith, you told them something, and there is mukhalafa, meaning they had a dispute. Similar to shadh, similar to munkar, like we explained yesterday. One of them reports something, Abdul Wasi says a thing, Ahmed and Abdurrahman say something, totally different now. Who's wrong, who's right? Hypothetically, who would be wrong, who would be right? He said it was coffee in the cup, Abdul Wasi. Ahmed, Abdurrahman, he said it was what? Tea in the cup. Who's right? Whose narration do we take? The majority, not necessarily. as a rule, but not necessarily, because maybe Abdul Wasit studied with me for 10 years, or he studied with Ibrahim for 10 years. And these two guys, they only came along for a dola. They only met him once or twice, 3 times. So hypothetically, he's inferior in number, but the quality and the caliber of his tutelage under Ibrahim is what?
Much higher.
There's no doubt about that. It's higher. Or he may be even stronger than him. There are 2 of them, but they're not as sharp as he is. But let's say, for example, he made mukhalafa and they're all equal. We have to take 1 from 3. Or we take 2 from instead of 1. Let alone if they were stronger. They studied with Ibrahim longer, etc. Mukhalafa. So when the Rawi makes mukhalafa against someone who's stronger, larger, better, then that's a reason behind at-tan. That's a reason behind the narrator being criticized and disparaged. That's a reason behind him being stabbed. In ilm rijal. Ilm rijal, all right? Fadal, keep going. Oh jahalatihi. Abdul Wasit, his name is mentioned, but we don't know who he is. Who's Abdul Wasit? Where you from? I don't know. How old are you? I don't know. Who'd you study with? Where'd you come here? Why'd you come here? I don't know. We don't have information about him in his biography in ilm rijal. Hudayfa, well known. His age, how many children he had, how many times he made Hajj, how many times he made Umrah. Furqan's biography is well known. We know what type of henna he used in his beard. What type of henna he used in his beard. It's documented, literally. It's documented. How many gray hair, how often you used henna, what type of khufs you wore. Everyone understand it? It's well known. But Abdul Wasit is just Abdul Wasit from Minnesota. Who is he? Trustworthy? Untrustworthy? Strong, weak, is not a lot of information available about him. So if the Rawi is majhul, if there's jahala, lack of information about him, then this is a sababun min asbab at-ta'n fil rawi. Wujuhu at-ta'n fil rawi. This is one of the reasons why narrator is going to be yut'an, not praised. Who said praised? The opposite of praised. It's a disparaging remark against the narrator. It's an attack on the narrator. He's unknown. He may be a good guy. His memory may be better than Imam Ahmed, or we don't know. But because we don't know, it's automatically thrown out. And that's a ta'an. Clear. Move forward. Oh, bid'ati. Okay, who's the mubtadi' on the stage today? Unfortunately. Who volunteered to be the innovator? Ahmed. Unfortunately. So let's say you have a long chain of narration. Hudayfa narrates from me, right? That it's not enough ice in my cup today. Faddal, pass it on.
So Mufti Munir told me that there's not enough ice in this cup today.
You got to raise your voice. People got to hear.
Furqan told me that Huzaifa told him that Mufti Munir told him there's not enough ice in his cup today.
There you go. Quick, sharp. Come on, what's it?
I gotta narrate.
You got to narrate everything.
Furqan, Huzaifa, Ibrahim. Ibrahim Khan.
Now this is what? Sul hifd. Sul hifd, right?
Ibrahim heard Mufti Munir said.
Ibrahim heard Mufti Munir said. Pause. This is good. This is good. This is called what? Mu'dal. Exactly. 2 or more people missing back to back. And it's also called what? It's mursal as well. He's narrating directly to the Prophet. Aywa. Clear? All right, keep going. Come on, do what I said. All right, let's see if we learn well. Let's see if we learn well. What's the solution for Abdul Wasid's bad memory right now? Quick. Aywa, kitab. Dabtul kitab. The solution for him to be would to be what? Write it down. There's nothing wrong with not memorizing. Write it down. Now, let's say he wrote it down, fulan, and all of a sudden he lost his book. He left his book in the bathroom. He's left his book at the shoe rack at the wudu station. And as he was leaving the parking lot, hey, what type of tea did Sheikh Mufti have today? Was it cold? Was it hot? He didn't have his book, and he said, yeah, it was, it was iced coffee. He didn't have his book, and he narrated from his memory, This will be a type of what? Let's see how good we are. La, not tadlis. No, this will be a what? It's an illah. It's an illah. And it isn't known that his memory isn't the best. Without paper. He's thicker outwardly. Outwardly, he's a good narrator. But the detailed description tells us that he's only good when he writes down. When did he narrate the hadith to Ahmed? Outside. He narrated how? With or without his book? Who would know that except for the expert scholar? It's a hidden defect. And someone who comes along hastily, amateuristically says, fulan, sahih. It's authentic. It's a problem. You get it now? So Abdul Wasit, we're waiting on you. Give us your chain of narration.
Ibrahim told me that Mufti Munir does not.
Tayyib. Ibrahim, Furqan, Hudayfa narrated to Ahmed. Ahmed is a hafiz. He's a hafiz. His memory, mashallah. Tremendous memory. He's not a liar. He's Muslim, etc. He's of age, etc., etc. However, he's qadari. He says there's no qadar. It's impossible to be qadar. How can Allah create his slaves, guide whom he wills, misguide whom he wills, and then punish them who don't believe? That's unfair. It's no qadar. It can't be qadar. Impossible to be qadar. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't wrong anyone. How can he make someone a kafir and then punish him in the hellfire? So therefore, the only equation that makes sense is that there's no qadar. There's no such thing as qadar. Is his memory poor? No. Is he a kafir? No. Is he? No. The only problem with him is his what? Bid'ah. Okay. Ahmed believes about the qadar, and he only believes that in his house. He goes to the masjid, he prays, he gives salams, he makes hajj, he keeps his mouth shut. He doesn't call and invite people to that innovation. He's not fanatic about his innovation. That's not the same as Ahmed being an imam, a caller to it. If you want to study with me, you want ijazah from me, what is your position about qadar? Sheikh, I want to read Bukhari to you. Okay, do you believe in the qadar or not? He only allows those who share his view on qadar to be his students. He gives his khutbahs, his classes, all about rejecting the qadar. His da'iyah. He's a caller to his innovations versus him being normal, quiet, pious, bid'ah, or mubtadi', etc. Understand the difference? Fuck. All right? And that's a higher level of studies. Moving forward.
أو سوء حفظه.
Usui hifdihi, poor memory. Moving forward. Now he gives the names and the titles to these reasons of ta'an. If the hadith is weak because of this, then it's called that. If it's weak because of this, then it's called that. I understand ilm hadith, a big part of it is matching. It's a matching game. If the chain is inconsistent in the beginning, we match it with this term. If there's a breakage in the middle of the chain, then we match it with that term. You with me or not? You guys with me? You understand? 2 or 3 people missing back to back, then it has a specific term. So there's the term, and then there is the concept, the surah of it. You got it? There's an innovator, then there's a term. Poor narrator, poor memory, then there's a term. So if you ask the question, what is hadith mursal? You give its definition. Ma suratuhu. Give an example of it. What does it mean? There's the terminology, and then there is the concept. No, the label is the terminology. You guys with me or not? The label, and this is how you learn hadith science in English and of course in Arabic. Learning the words. Mursal, mu'dal, munqati', mudallas, mu'allaq, mursal khafi, etc., etc. Just knowing the words, memorizing them, and then knowing what they mean. What is behind the term mursal? What is behind the term mawdu'? What is behind the term such and such? فهمنا? We got this? تفضل.
فالأول الموضوع.
فالأول الموضوع, the كذاب. Number 2.
والثاني المتروك.
المتروك, the one who's accused of being a liar, كذاب. Number 3.
والثالث المنكر.
Al-munkar. What was number 3? Fuhshi. غلطه. Number 4.
وكذا الرابع
والرابع والخامس, which was what? Carelessness or هكذا. طيب. تفضل.
ثم الوهم
ثم الوهم إن اطلع عليه
بالقرائن
قرائن.
وجمع الطرق
أيوة.
فالمعلل
فالمعلل, a mistake, a misimpression. If we find out that he made a mistake, that it wasn't Abdurrahman or it wasn't Abdul Qayyum, then that's mu'allal. We're not going to go back to that again. Keep going forward.
ثم المخالفة
أيوة.
إن كانت بتغيير السياق
Al-mukhalafa, and the different types and styles of mukhalafa. He, Abdul Wasi, Ahmad, Abdurrahman, you went against those two. You changed the version. You switched up the version. You switched up the metin, or you just went against them. The types and levels of mukhalafa, of the students fighting with each other. Now we're going to get to a specific type in which the problem doesn't come from the disciples, but the problem is coming from the sheikh himself. And he is the one responsible for the error. He's the one who met them one day and said this, and the next day he said that, and the third day, and the fourth day, and the fifth day. His students didn't make the error, but the sheikh himself is the one who made the errors. Everyone understand this? And which there's no way in picking these two over one. All of them narrated the same thing every time, or they're of equal strength. And it's proven that the mistake started off with the teacher, and that's muttalib. In which there's no way of making one version stronger than the next, and the source has to be the fault. Everyone understand this? Keep going.
فمدرج الإسناد أو بدمج موقوف بمرفوع فمدرج
Al-Mudraj. Al-Mudraj is, all right, let's go back to our example now. Hudayfa, you're going to narrate for me now. Listen carefully, all right? I'm going to tell you, we got to stop. Time is up. Khalas, guys. That's it. Jazakumullah khairan. Great job. May Allah bless you all. That's it. That's all the time we got for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran. Thank you very much.